it's me, Jess. This is my first knitting podcast attempt. So first, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jess. I've been knitting for, I should have had that ready. I think it's been three years that I've been knitting. I went to the thrift store and there was a bunch of just, the straight knitting needles, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy this whole set of them and I'm going to sit down and teach myself how to do it. And when I first started knitting, I was swearing up and down and I was complaining and I almost gave up, and I was like, how do people get their hands to do this? I could not understand. And I mean, if I learned again, knowing what I knew now, I wouldn't have started the way I started. But I feel like a lot of us feel that way. Am I right? So that's just a quick little introduction. I'm sure I'll tell you more as things go on, and I'll be better at talking to my phone, because that's what I'm using to record right now. I'll start with finished objects, as that's where most people seem to start after you get through the housekeeping part. I have two actually finished objects. I've been making a lot of socks. If you ever follow me on Ravelry or Instagram and you see what I'm doing, it's a lot of socks right now. I don't know, I made one pair out of some wool that I dyed myself, and I fell in love with the idea of making socks. So, and at first I thought they were like super complicated and I was never going to get it. I was like, how do you, do the heel? I don't understand how you do it. And as soon as I did my first sock, everything clicked, easy peasy. Everyone should at least make one pair of socks just to say, I knit a pair of socks. So here's my first pair. These they're not my first actual pair, they're just my first finished object for the month. I've made 4 socks this year so far, completely finished. These ended up being a little smaller than the other socks I made. I'm using the Knit Picks Stacy Winklepleck, I hope I'm saying that name right, the Go Your Own Way socks pattern that was for free. The first pattern I did was the Tin Can Knits Rye socks, which are amazing. And then I wanted to try a toe-up version, so I found this one, tried it out. I've made 3 pairs of socks with this Go Your Own Way pattern now. The first pair I made fit really well. It was some indie dyed yarn that my mom purchased for me in the Spumoni colorway from, I think it's Abby Grosso Artistic Yarns. I'll link it either here or in the show notes, because I'm going to make a little Ravelry page and put show notes there. So I was like, oh, well, I made the medium on that, and they could be a little bigger, so I tried the large size, and I followed the instructions, and it ended up this short. And it was like, just tight enough that I feel like they didn't fit great on my feet, so I sewed in the ends, and I will see, next time I see one of my aunts, if they fit her, because she's got smaller feet than me, if she'll like them. So this is my first. And I know I should get some sock blockers or something because they look kind of sad, but they're really comfy. I used the Deborah Norville Serenity Yarn sock yarn in Lavender Topaz, and for the contrast heel, toe, and cuff, I used the one that is called Navy, but I swear personally that it's like a cool charcoal gray, so I could see how it might lean a little blue, but to me it's charcoal gray, but I use navy, and I'll make notes on all that for you too. My second finished object, which I didn't sew the ends in yet because I worked my butt off to finish them because I made a huge mistake on them. My mom is also knitting socks, so we're kind of like knitting together a couple of socks, and she made a pair for my dad, and her socks are knit on size 2 needles, 64 stitches around, same as me. Hers are like, I wouldn't say twice the size, but they're a lot larger than mine, so I'm apparently knitting super tight. And when she did the bind off for the cuff, she did a regular knit bind off, and it was, it was a little stretchy and it fit right, so apparently I knit way too tight because I did the exact same thing, and I could not get the cuff over my husband's heel to finish making sure the sock fit, so obviously it did not fit anymore. So I ripped out a bind off, which I'd never done before, and I used a lifeline to just rip out stuff because I was convinced I was going to drop a stitch somewhere and I was going to be so mad. So I did a lifeline, ripped out the whole cuff, Reknit the whole cuff, did the Jenny super stretchy bind off, and oh voila, the socks fit. You can get them over your ankles so you can actually wear them. So here are my husband's finished socks. Oop, here you go. And this is the Peyton's, I think that's how it's said, Croy sock yarn in blue, gray, brown, marl. And I bought it because it was so pretty. And I just felt like these were socks that he would love to wear. So, yeah. These didn't get woven in yet. But these socks, I posted a ton on my Instagram because I love them. I want them for myself. And to be fair, we have basically the same size feet, so I could steal them if I wanted to. But they've got that squishiness that wool has. Like, they just feel nice to hold, and they're so soft. They, like, caress your feet nicely. They're really, really comfy socks. So I'm hoping that he's gonna love these. So all I have to do is wrap in the ends of these, and these are completely finished. That's all my actual finished projects that are recent enough, I feel like, to talk about here and show you. I bought two, quickly before I switch over, 2 skeins of the Peyton's sock yarn, because they usually say like 1 skein makes 1 sock, and I know that he likes longer socks, so I was like, I better go with 2. But I've got all of this left. That's a ton. I could probably make, I don't know, short socks with these, with contrast. I might be able to get away with it. I don't know. What do you make with these little balls that are relatively large of sock yarn? Because, I mean, the balls started this size. Now they're like this size. So, I don't know. I gotta decide what to do with these. Mittens, socks, hat. Ooh, this is a hat. This would be enough for a hat, I think. Maybe I'll make a hat. Next is onto the work in progresses. I have 2 work in progresses of the same pattern, but one I think is going to get ripped out. So I started making the Hermione's Everyday Socks because on Ravelry everyone is making them and they're so pretty. I love them. So I started it on some Deborah Norville Serenity Sock yarn because I bought a bunch of single skeins when they were on clearance at Joann Fabrics. Little did I realize at the time that 1 skein wasn't really enough to make 2 good, socks. Like, I wanted them to be taller, and that's why the purple ones are so short, because I was so convinced I was going to run out of some yarn. And so I was like, well, I'll try this new pattern. I'll make them shorter. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So this is the yarn, which is really pretty color-wise. It's got these blues, these deep purples, the green, which I had finally just got to, and then the white. And it's in the colorway C, and it says it's the sock weight, and it's the same brand, and it's like packaged up the same way as the purple topaz that I used for those other socks that I did that I'm going to give to my aunt. But it feels different. Like, my mom was saying she thought there might be cotton in it. I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same as the other one. And it's thicker. And so this sock is knitting up what I feel like is too big. I'm using size 2 needles again. And I think it's 64 stitches around again. But, I mean, look at the difference. I know I knit tightly. But, I mean, this is all extra. And they just seem super thick. And then to top it all off, I did the heel backwards. So, I mean, it looks, if you didn't know I did it backwards, the heel looks fine. This is what the heel would look like on the outside. So, I mean, the pattern looks fine enough, but when you see the actual, the slightly changed Eye of Partridge that they use, it's so pretty that I wish that I could have seen it. I mean, look at that. So, I think I'm going to rip this sock out. I mean, it would be a good, like, bedtime sock, walk around the house slipper sock, but I'm just kind of frustrated with the whole yarn. And I mean, I got this far. All I had to do was the foot and then do the toe, and the foot's easy, just going around and around and around in the pattern. And it's kind of like a broken seed stitch pattern, I think. It's really pretty, and it looks nice because it adds a little bit of texture to these variegated yarns, the speckled yarns, the stripes even, and they look nice, and it's not too busy, so you can still showcase your fancy, really pretty yarns, but also have like for some people a more interesting knit. I don't mind just a plain vanilla sock. I'm finding that that's one of my comfort zones. I was making a lot of plain, just like slouchy beanies for a while, and I'm all into that. Like, I love cables and I love color work, but I love being able to knit while watching a movie or TV or talking to people, and so I don't have to pay attention to a chart or anything. It's just knit in circles, just constantly stockinette stitch is so great for that. And so because I'm going to pull that out, I'm about to start another of the Hermione's Everyday Socks in, I think, a yarn that I don't have. It's another purple one by Deborah Norville, because like I said, I bought a ton of skeins of that, and so I'm just trying to get through it. That's all my current things on the needles. Now for stash enhancement, we'll call it. I'm going to make a blanket because one of my cousins and his girlfriend are pregnant. They're having a baby girl they found out recently. So I'm going to make them a beautiful blanket out of this. How pretty is this? I went to the store looking for just like a really pretty lavender. I couldn't find what I wanted exactly. And then I found this, and it's the Big Twist Yarns Chunky, which I feel like is a Joann Fabrics like house brand of yarn. And it's in the color Whisper. So, here we go. Big Twist, Chunky. But, I mean, that is just super pretty. I cannot wait. I'm going to make the Sunshine Chevron blanket, which is one of the free patterns on Ravelry. I'm just looking at my show notes on my laptop over here. And, let me see. It is the, what's it called? Yeah, Sunshine Chevron blanket. Done by Mary Chiba with Knit Picks. It's this beautiful, just, plain little blanket, and it's got this little chevron design and pearls across it. And I've made it twice already. It's a super fun knit. It can go quick if you have a thicker, like, chunkier yarn, or if you want smaller blanket or bigger blanket. There's a lot of, you can kind of customize it by either using bigger needles, chunkier yarn. I made one out of a really chunky green for one of my husband's coworkers who had a baby, and then I made a really kind of like delicate, it was kind of pink with multicolored speckles yarn. It was a much smaller blanket for my husband's friend who had a baby, and they really liked it too. I don't know, there's something about that pattern that I feel like anybody could love. So if you want a kind of quick, really pretty knit for a baby blanket, I would suggest that. The other thing that I bought when I bought these was some Premier Home cotton yarn in the colorway Aquamarine Speckle. So here's what that looks like. And I just thought that the speckles on that were really pretty. For Christmas, my mom made me and my brother a bunch of knit dishcloths. She goes every weekend to visit her mother, who's in, it's kind of like a nursing home / rehab facility. And so my parents drive up once a week to go see her out. And it's about an 1.5-hour drive. So she will take some kind of knitting project with her now, since her arthritis isn't as bad right now. She's got no flare-ups and she's got it under control. So she takes them, and she was knitting tons of them. I got, a good stack of them, and my brother got a good stack of them. And so I bought this, and I thought that maybe I would make her one, because I really like using these as washcloths. They're super fun. The last piece of stash enhancement I have is something I bought for myself when I went to a local yarn store. I went to Nitty Gritty Yarns. I see that my phone does this backwards like it's a mirror. But it is on 1153 West Fayette Street in Syracuse. So if you're in the Syracuse, New York area, you're passing through where you live here, check it out. She's super nice, knowledgeable, has tons of yarn. And I found out about them last week, told my mom about it, and she's like, we have to go. She was super excited, and when she went, she was like a kid in a candy store. She loved it. And the whole point I went, other than just to check it out, was I wanted to try hedgehog fiber yarn. I've been obsessively looking at all of like these indie dyer yarns and stuff, and I've been wanting to try their yarn specifically for a while now. And so finally we found a stockist close to us, and I went in, and she's like, have you find anything? and I said, do you have any hedgehog fiber yarn? And she's acting like she only had like 3 skeins left. She was saying how she didn't have a lot left. You know, she had a big shipment, and now she doesn't have nearly as many skeins anymore. She's running out. And when she showed me which was, she had like a good basket full of like, I don't know, like maybe 20 to 30 skeins. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I felt like there was a lot. There were at least 10 different colorways, and there were a couple of each. So I'd say there were easily like 30 skeins there. And it's the hedgehog fiber sock yarn. And I already took them out of the hanks when I was at my mom's house, and I balled them up. And so the 2 that I got were banana legs, which is this amazingly bright yellow. I was originally going to buy pesto, maybe pistachio, or like, you know, kind of one of those more muted colorways that are just as pretty. And I got 2, didn't measure, but they're about 50 gram skeins, cakes that I made. So I've got those. But yeah, I mean, look at those speckles. This is going to knit up some really pretty socks or mittens or hat. I'm undecided. And then I got Pinky Swear, which like I said, I was looking at the muted colors, but these 2 neon colors kept calling my name. They kept grabbing my attention, and I was like, I didn't want to buy these, but now I have to have these. And so here's Pinky Swear. I mean, look at how bright that is. The phone's only picking it up like slightly more neon than it is in real life for me. It's super intense. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's got tons of different colors mixed into this pink. Like, this is going to be really fun to watch it while you knit. So, yeah, look at that. Whoop. So pretty. So, I'm not sure which are destined to be socks. I thought about making some mittens. I can't decide because I feel like this is all I'm ever going to have. I know I can go to the store and buy more, but also gotta get through the yarn I have because I've got a small stash of yarn. I think that's everything. I talked about the stuff I have, the plans, my work in progresses, my finished objects. So I started watching podcasts 2 weeks ago, and I found a couple that I got like really into. Like, I started watching the Hey Sister podcast. Stress Knits podcast is fun. I've listened to the Knit More Girls podcast. Bad Wolf Girl Studios, the Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits. I watched that one. I've got a whole list. I'm trying to like work through all of their backlog of stuff. Well, to me it's a backlog. To them it's just their old episodes. And I've been really enjoying it. And then I thought that I enjoyed the idea of being part of the knitting community. So why not try doing a podcast myself? I wanted to be more active in the Ravelry like groups and stuff. So I thought that doing this, people would get to know me. I've been posting a lot more of my knitting projects on Instagram lately. On my Instagram, I post fermentation projects. I do a lot of kombucha brewing, and so every once in a while I'll post about that, or if I'm doing something else. I post about hula hooping. I recently started learning how to hula hoop, which sounds silly as an adult to say that, and you would think, well, kids can do it. It's not that hard. But it actually took me like a lot of time to learn how to waist hoop as an adult. And I'm learning, you know, little tricks here and there and like hoop dancing. And so that's like also a really fun community full of really supportive people. So I like to do that too. I post my knitting stuff. I post just some personal random stuff I'm reading. You know, pretty flowers that I see, because who doesn't like to see pretty flowers? About my garden, because I was really into gardening. But this year I've just kind of lost a lot of the zest for it, we'll say, because the weather in general has been really terrible. I got a really late start on my garden. A rabbit ate most of the plants in my garden after I got a late start and got them in the ground. And so I got an even later start by getting the few plants I had left over that I started from seed in the ground. And it's just been a nightmare. I did get 1 cucumber out of my garden and I ate it. And I'm waiting on 1 tomato. I'll have to check on my garden if this rain today ever stops. And see if we have anything else. I have planted some of the Bloody Butcher heirloom variety of tomatoes. I've got some local green beans. No, well, they're yellow. They're yellow bean. They started out green. My husband was eating them green, and I was like, these are supposed to be yellow, right? I've got some Hungarian wax peppers. We've got butternut squash, yellow summer squash, cucumbers. I think that's all I have in the garden this year. The garden is still pretty full, and I've got to weed it, which is a whole nother thing. So that's another thing that I post and I'm interested in. I also post a lot of tarot readings. I got into actually reading the cards for Sirius a little over a year ago, and I've been doing like usually a daily draw of cards as a way to practice and just kind of share whatever message I feel like the cards say. It's been really great working on my intuition, and there's a lot of really nice communities on Instagram that I've run into, and I've done tarot readings for people in person too, and it's really fun. Even if you just think that the cards are a piece of paper, the stories that the cards can tell you give you possibly a interesting, different insight to a situation that you might not have thought of yourself. So that's a lot of the stuff that I do. That's a lot of stuff that I post. So if you have interest in any of that stuff, hit me up with an email, check out my Instagram, let's be friends. I love friends. I would love more friends. So I think that's everything. Oh, and the only thing I wanted to say was with the Hermione sock, the one that I'm trying again, I'm doing it on 9-inch circular needles, and can I just tell you, look at how tiny this is compared to this. Like, there's nothing to grab onto here, and I'm a super tiny, I grip onto everything really tightly, and I don't know why I knit that way. It's like I feel like I'm gonna lose my knitting, into the magical abyss of life. It's so silly. So I'm trying to hold it less tightly, and I wanted to try doing them just in the round instead of magic loop, because that's how I knit almost everything in magic loop at this point. Hats. The blankets I do on circulars too. I love circular needles. They don't pull as heavily on my wrists, so I don't get as much pain, and I can knit for longer that way. I made my husband a sweater, and all that's left is the sleeves, and I did that all on circular needles. It's just so much easier. I don't know that I'll ever really specifically go back to using straight needles, and I really hated using double pointed needles when I started because I don't think I understood the concept as well. I think I tried to use them way too soon. So, I don't know, circulars are it for me. And so I thought I'd try a new technique. I tried doing 2 at a time on 2 circular needles, toe up socks. And it got me all stressed out and flustered. And I was making a huge mess, and all my yarn was getting all tangled up. So I had my mom try to help me. She's the one who was showing me how she did it, and I was like, no, not with these socks, not with these needles. These needles are too long. I think top down 2 at a time socks would have worked better for me. And I actually started with these ones is what I was doing. And so I did both of the toes, just a little bit of them, like this much of the toes on them, and then I took them off of those needles and did them individually. It takes me, if I work, like, what I feel like is non-stop, like I work throughout the day, then I can get a sock done in 4 days. So, I don't know, am I a fast knitter? Slow knitter? Depends. Are you a fast knitter or a slow knitter? Tell me, if you're watching, about your knitting. What technique you use? I don't know. I don't know if there's like a word for the technique I use. I just kind of wrap it around and then go like this. I know there's flicking. I don't know. Flicking. I have to look into that because it's supposed to be faster. And there's continental, and there's one other kind. And I wanted to learn how to knit differently so that I could not get stress, like injuries or pain, because that repetitive motion can cause a lot of problems with your hands, and I feel like I'm already predisposed to having those kinds of issues. So I would love to not have those issues and keep knitting for a really long time because I really like it. It's fun. So I think that's everything. I gave you a little once over of all my projects, all the stuff I've got going on. I'm really trying to work through a lot of the stash that I have. Things that I bought that I don't really care so much for, or things that I bought the wrong quantities for. Yeah. So I'll leave links below of my Instagram, the Ravelry stuff. Yeah, I think that's all I would have to leave. And then I'll make show notes and put them in the Ravelry group so you can see the patterns that I used. You can see my project if you want, and we can talk about your projects. I'd like to, in the future, do some kind of giveaway maybe. I always feel like giveaways are fun. People love giveaways. I just like entering them. I think I've won one giveaway ever in the entire world, but I don't know, there's something about, entering in and then waiting to see who wins, and I'm always excited for whoever wins. So that's a fun thing, and I would love to do a knit-along at some point. A lot of people seem to be doing knit-alongs, and those seem really fun. So I would love to get your guys' opinions on knit-alongs and doing little projects together. What do you think about knitting socks? Are you a sock knitter? Are you a process knitter? I don't know. I would just like to know all these things about everybody. I know, it's strange. People, I don't know. The internet. They're like people you don't know, but you want to know everything about them because I feel like you just connect. So I'm going to end this here before I hit half an hour because I've been talking what I feel like is nonstop about like 4 skeins of yarns and 2 projects. So that's all my stuff. What are you working on? What did you finish? I would love to see your projects. Awesome. Tell me about your favorite yarns. I love like looking at new yarns right now. I'm obsessed about finding new brands and looking at all the different colorways. So please tell me. All right. Bye. See you maybe next month. I think this might be like a monthly thing. I don't get a lot of projects done otherwise. So yeah, I'm like, it's like an ebb and a flow. Like sometimes I work nonstop on a project, and other times I'm like, meh, I'll do a little here, do a little there. So this will probably be like a monthly thing. And also I don't buy as much yarn, so within the month I might actually get like a new skein to show you or something. Alright, that's it for real. Bye!